Hello and welcome to Real Hi-Fi Help. This is about predicting the electronic vehicle market. Take into consideration what I'm saying here is not financial advice. These are some points that I have regarding the EV market. I think these are points that people are not really fully considering, fully understanding. And I wanted to share it with you guys. So let's just dig into it. I feel that right now buying an EV is as cheap as it's ever been. Of course, batteries are getting cheaper and cheaper, but I think that we're taking it for granted what we have here and now. And what I mean by that is, no, let me just get deeper into this. Then you'll see what it is that I mean. I feel that these free power deals, I got a free power deal with my car when I bought it. And you basically can't buy an EV now that has a free power deal with it. The power deal that I got with my car saved me around $10,000 per year, so I didn't have to pay anything compared to a mechanical car. Nowadays, you don't get that, which I find to be very sad. But yeah, they have to make money of us, so it kind of makes more sense. I also feel that electricity is getting more and more expensive. But here's the point. I think it's mostly because people just don't realize that it's the fact that we have mechanical cars still being in use that actually keeps EVs from it's that factor that makes EVs a cheap alternative solution. That's the main factor. I think that a lot of people just take that for granted, thinking that everything's going to get better. We're going to get bigger batteries. We're going to get this bigger network of charging stations. Yeah, that's going to happen. But what's going to happen when we don't have fossil fuels and companies like Shell and BG Oil, or whatever they're called, all these oil corporations, when they then also own a big part of the whole electricity grid? I feel that personally that will make things go up in price, because we don't have stuff happening on the market, opposites making the whole EV market go lower and lower and lower down in price. I think that we're taking that for granted. And I know from several people that are just on the fringe of buying an EV saying that, when we can get a 400 to 600 mile recharge as a standard, then I'll take an EV. But personally, I'm just the guy thinking that, why would you want to wait for an EV being a regular thing? Because this is how I see it. When EVs are a regular thing, everything's going to go up in price. It's not going to be as attractive. The only thing that's making EVs attractive here and now is that only about, I'm guessing, 1% of the market uses EVs. That's what's making it attractive. That's what's creating good charging deals. That's what makes us save a huge amount of money compared to mechanical cars. Yeah, there are some drawbacks, a lot of drawbacks, but I feel that people are taking that for granted and just thinking that, everything's going to be better and cheaper. It's going to be the illusion of stuff being better and cheaper, and here's why I think that. Just look at Tesla. How hyped up the stock is currently, and look at all the support from the government that Tesla is getting. If you look at the numbers really closely, you'll actually start to see that Tesla isn't really earning money on their cars. They're basically barely running the car industry, making a profit. They need the government to support Tesla. And are the government still going to support Tesla when we're going from a couple of percent of EV users to, let's just say, 25, 50, 75% users at around 2000 and year 2030? Are the government still going to support it? If they're not, Teslas are most likely going to be a lot more expensive together with the rest of the market. And yeah, by that time, we might easily have bigger batteries, better charging networks. But what I feel is not good. What's happening now is that Tesla is kind of running this strategy, this Amazon strategy, where they're keeping prices very low down to pump, cram in a lot of extra features. And they've gotten their foot in the doorway, and they're pretty much dominating the market and can do almost whatever they want from here on after. And I feel that there are some points here I'm just going to go through on this page where I feel that we've kind of taken it a bit too far. Let me just show you guys. Just want to say that I feel that this picture that I'm painting here can easily change from around year 2030 when we finally get up to solid state batteries. I think that's a big thing to come if that ever happens. That's the only thing that I feel can fully make EVs a proper thing that can exist for many, many years and make it so much more practical. That would be cool one day to have like 1,000 kilowatt battery and only have to charge it in like 30, 40, 50 minutes time. That would almost be ideal. But this is an important point that I feel that a lot of people don't fully understand, because you go on a company's homepage now where they're selling an EV, and they're displaying numbers like 200 miles, 400 miles, 500 miles driving range, which is absolute bullcrap, Sorry guys, but I own a car that was officially almost 400 kilometers of miles. And you know what I got out of that in practical use? I got something that was 150 kilometers. So that's pretty far from the almost 400 that they measured it to, And that's what I'm saying. EVs are especially sensitive to change of temperature, road conditions, especially when it goes down to around 0 and you've got a strong headwind against you that's cold and you're driving the full speed limit. You can easily, I've done this before, you can easily take a new EV car, bottom class EV car, and just empty that battery in 40 to 60 minutes. You can. I've done that before. I've even done it on a Hyundai Kona car. I think it was around 2 years ago. And the way I was going, testing that car, I could have emptied that battery in around 60 to 90 minutes time. And that's a totally new car that I tried from the dealership that had 1.5 times more battery power than my own EV. So yeah, I think this doesn't get enough attention. I think that we should stop making EVs seem so magical and like, oh, you've got a 400, 500, 600 mile range. No, you don't. A lot of these cars, even the Teslas, if you drive on the motorway, freeway, whatever you call it, and you're full speed and it's cold and bad conditions and you're using stuff in the car like the butt seat warmer, the AC and stuff like that. Even a Tesla that is a prime example of some of the best EVs that we've got now, you can still easily empty a Tesla in 2 hours. And that's even though it has a battery that's sometimes twice as big as the more normal competitive brands, So yeah, something to think about. And I think there's a hole in the EV market that I also want to show you guys. And that is the fact that current research here in 2021 shows us that from doing a market research, we've realized that currently customers only want to pay around $36,000 per average per EV. And that's not a hell of a lot of money considering the fact that we're fighting against capacity problems, that we have to put bigger and bigger batteries in the cars. I think that's going to be a big problem for at least the next 3, 5, 6, 7 years time, because we have to hit this magical number here. There's not a lot of people that are going to buy a 50, 60, 70 $1,000 EV. The average person only wants to pay around this here. And I think that's very, very tough to compete against. Where currently just a lot of people would rather want to buy some kind of a shitty temporary 20, 30, 40,000 US dollar mechanical car instead, because it's just easier to deal with to a certain degree. But I think that the hole in the market, the hidden enemy, is stability and long duration of an EV. It's a thing that we don't really talk about, but I feel that the more we're moving forward, the more that we are progressing towards this futuristic electronic car that they're just not lasting as long as they used to, and there's so many people that are talking bad about the original Nissan Leaf, especially the first model, because it doesn't have this whole cooling system, and that's of course not a good thing, especially in certain countries where it's warmer and you want to travel a lot more. But I think we have to realize that putting more code into a computer in a car, adding more features, having more sensors, having more of these gadget things can easily prevent the car from starting up, not functioning, doing all kinds of creaky, weird sounds, panels falling off here and there. And I think that's a big trap that we're kind of falling into with a lot of these cheaper EVs, is that there's too much functionality. People aren't even looking over the shoulders anymore to see, is there someone there? Is there a small child by the car? Yada, yada, yada. They're depending on not just the mirrors like in the olden days, which was bad enough, but we're using electronic mirrors, we're using sensors. We're kind of removing ourselves from the environment, depending on so much technology that could easily be not working as it should. And I feel that that's not a good thing to do. I think that we should go back in time and get a proper car that we have full control over. Yeah, it might be heavier. Yeah, it might be a bit more boring. It might be a bit more noisy and yada, yada, yada. But I feel that this whole new modern experience where we're basically almost like we're in a computer game and we're just pushing some buttons and doing things via remote. It's a dangerous and slippery slope that we don't want to do. We don't want to get into that part. So this was about stability, long duration. Yeah, more and more cars are just only living up to the 3 to 8 year lifespan instead of the usual 5 to 12 years. And back in the olden days, when you had an Audi 80 mechanical car, or a BMW 3 or 5 series, or even like before that, the Volvo cars, the Volvo cars, you could have them for 15, 20, 25, 30 years, some of them. And it feels as if we're just moving further and further away from that, and that it's becoming a distant future where it's almost as if car companies want us to just have this temporary, cool, nice experience that's very fast and convenient, and it like gives you the illusion that you're saving a lot of money, when in actual fact, over a longer period of time, you're actually using more money. So I just wanted to point that out. And also, I find it a bit alarming that all of this AI driving taking over, driving for us, and keyless entry to the car, where you punch in a code at the car door, or you have like a keyless card, like a credit card, or your app on your phone is connected to the car. Just think about the amount of security problems you're just immediately opening up there, where you're trusting the car company, the guys who host the car company's server, the security on the server. When you're taking anything and you're putting it online, you immediately expose it to a long range of potential attacks. I know from just my car personally that if I leave I have a keyless door handle, where in theory I could leave my car key by the door, and some thief could come close to the door and actually reroute that signal, send a signal to my key that tricks my car to believing that he has the real car key, so he can just take off. And I just have to be within a certain distance, like 15, 20 meters of the car, with my car key, and then he can do that. I find that very alarming, that we're putting ourselves into that situation. I feel that if you can create a dependency of something physical happening, it usually will create a more safe environment. But I feel that a lot of attacks in this world happen from a distance, where you're never really dealing with your attacker. I remember working for this internet company, and we would constantly get some part of the country would constantly go down because some guy was spamming another guy on the server because they didn't like each other for probably playing some kind of a game. So he would just DDoS him, and we couldn't do anything about it because, the whole government has this thing where everybody has a right to do whatever they want because they're humans, and we mustn't know too much about our users, so we have to respect their private lives. And because of that, because of this whole human rights and respecting other people's private lives, it kind of destroys the work that police and government agencies have to do in order to track people down that are attacking a lot of these devices that are on the net, that are not fully protected. So I just find that because you're not faced with it here and now. Everybody's just kind of like, oh yeah, yeah, I've got some security thing that's taking care of that. That's not gonna bother us. And I'm just thinking like, yeah, but you don't know what you don't know. So I just find that a bit alarming. That just think about this, for example. You've got your car, your modern car. You're uploading your pictures. You've got your phone synchronized with that. It's somewhere up in the cloud. Well, up in the cloud, they've suddenly got access to your contacts, your messages, your pictures of your children, and theoretically there could be some metadata on those pictures that has a description, GPS description of where that was taken. So those could be pictures of your own home that you've posted on Facebook or whatever, which has metadata where you could, in theory, see, okay, this is the address where this guy lives. Let's go in and steal his hi-fi equipment or whatever, I'm just saying that's a world that you kind of open yourself up to without even knowing it. You're just saying yes to the car company being allowed to access your phone, access whatever, so you can stay in tune with this world. And the problem is that we depend on it. It becomes a standard. A guy taking his driver's license at 17, 21, 25, whatever, getting his first car, that will be his first car experience, most likely in the future. He will not have known of this other, more primitive, older world where you're not syncing your phone with your car or whatever. That's not a reality for him, So why would he even bother to think about security? Because he hasn't experienced that part of the world. He's starting off in this world. So sorry, I'm going off and ranting a bit, but I feel that it's stuff that we need to think about, because it's stuff that we can't see, and we are humans that are visual creatures. We will only realize a lot of things in life when we're faced with them physically, and that's why a lot of banks in the olden days were kept safe, because we had physical currency preventing us. And if when they then got the money, then we got the cops to sick on the criminal people. And somehow in the end, the guy who owns the banks would always get their money back. But what about a future where you get robbed of your stuff and you don't even know that it got robbed? It's just some random person just has your data and you don't even know about it. And it could happen like 5-10 years later that they just use some of that information, some of that stuff that you've written to yourself as a personal note and saved it on some kind of a drive online. Suddenly they can just use it like that 5-10 years later for whatever reason. That you can open up like 100 different attacks doing this. And I'm just saying that I don't want to be a part of that future where convenience and features takes over, so that it gets a higher priority than us humans. I feel that it's nice to have features. Yes, it's cool having an e-pedal in a Nissan Leaf. Yes, I like an extra camera. I like this and that. But where do you draw the line? Because at a certain point, which is hard to distinguish exactly when that is, but at a certain point, you just slowly lose control over everything that's happening around you, because everything's just controlled with buttons, and in the end we might not even be able to stop the car if it gets hit by like an EMP. Someone could just in theory have a mini EMP and then just throw that towards your car or whatever, and there you go. You might not even have the ability to even stop the car, or you definitely can't use a handbrake or a window wiper or whatever, because everything's kind of controlled through this command center that you have, which is like in the Tesla 3, this whole iPad thingy going on, and that's what I don't want to see. I feel that we should still have that mechanical experience to some degree, and I feel that if we can also make the front part of EVs heavier and feel more like a mechanical car, it will feel more safe. If we can make the steering wheels just feel a bit more solid like the older ones. I'm not saying like the really older ones, like from the 80s and the early 90s, before we had whatever power steering. But I'm saying that it's just getting a bit ridiculous. I remember getting into this Hyundai Kona car and trying it and just thinking like, what the hell is this thing I'm touching? Is that a steering wheel? It just was so easy to move. I could have moved it with my pinky right and left, and that's not a really nice thing when everything's super reactive, because if you have a panic attack, you kind of want a bit of resistance, a bit of heaviness, a bit of stuff that kind of makes you feel safe, so you don't suddenly like jerk the wheel and do something on the freeway, highway, whatever you call it. I just feel that we kind of need that. We're taking that for granted, that all of this new stuff is just better. I actually preferred my older Opel Astra car, even though it was a lot more heavy in the wheel, steering wheel. It still felt like a good amount of heavy, and not this new plastic EV wheel heavy where it just feels like it's totally fake and easy to move, and there's no actual turning of the car physically, yeah. So yeah, just a lot of things to read here that I'm not gonna cover fully. You can just go back and read those things. But I feel that just simple things like when you update your car, you're at a friend's place, you start your car, it runs an update because you can't prevent it, or you have to somehow run it at some point, and then great, it updates, but something goes wrong and you can't use your car and you have to go to work, and now your boss hates you, and what do you then do? You then need to get this thing fixed, but how much is that gonna cost when the warranty has expired and you need someone to do a computer update for you? That could probably cost like $500 plus, just because you had an automatic update thing that wanted to update your computer so you can get the latest video game update for your Tesla or whatever. I just feel that like mistakes like that are just so stupid, and the fact that you have a GPS sender in your car, and in theory anyone running that could just see where you are at any time of the day. That's like also alarming. Do you really want the potentiality of everybody in the world knowing where you are with your car constantly? I don't want that. Just think about if you had just think if this is like 2050 into the future, and you've got like a mad X, that's a psychopath, and at that time they're able to track where your car is via some app. Do you really want your psycho X to to see that, oh, you're over here with that car? Now they know how to deal with that problem. It's just a bit I feel that that's going a bit over the line, having a car that's constantly connected to GPS. Like my car is basically constantly connected to GPS. All EVs are basically now connected to GPS constantly. It just, to me, that doesn't make sense in a lot of different ways. But yeah, I just want to start up the car without having to do an update or something potentially going wrong. I want the electronical part of a car to just, me as a user, I want to just push a button and then like all of it goes away, or a tenth of it or a third of it goes away, so I can just manually control the stuff that I want to control. Plus, you also get to save a bit on the power. I mean, just a basic thing like road collision sensor, that it will detect anything in front of you and automatically stop against your will. I find that disturbing. Some cars you can't deactivate that. Or it keeps a distance to a car ahead of you. Again, like, why are we doing that? That will just create a lot of senseless situations where people rely on that, and then it will create a lot of accidents. Like, why are we doing this? Why not just remove it and have an easier menu, and just have just a more simplistic, grounded, nice experience instead of this like futuristic bubble. Yeah. But internal battery packs, yeah, why haven't we done that? That would be so cool to see. Could we get like 1, 2, 3, 4 boxes of battery packs that we can put in the car, that we can take in and out, and then we just have them recharging through some kind of socket in the car? That it would be so cool if I had like 25, 50, 100 kilowatts extra with me on top of the car's battery, so that when I got into situations, I did not have to rely on going to a remote place. I've never recharged that before. I still have enough to get to a client's home or a new workplace where I do something, or just go back home and recharge the whole thing. I just feel that that's a part of the market that we haven't really harnessed yet. I feel that would be so cool if we could do that. Those are just my my opinions. I could be wrong. It could be that I'm wrong about all of this stuff, but I think it's at least important to mention all of these things. So that's me logging off. I hope you enjoyed this video, guys. Like and subscribe if you can.